If you enjoy listening to episodes in English, please skip to the next episode.
Hello, everybody. I'm very happy to see you. My name is Larissa Davila, and I am part of La Incubadora podcast. La Incubadora podcast is part of the Economic Growth Business Incubator, a local nonprofit with the mission to provide training, coaching, and support to aspiring and existing business owners who face barriers to growing a successful business. La Incubadora podcast is born out of the need to put in video and audio a lot of success stories that we see at the business incubator. We also want to frequently answer to frequently asked questions and connect small business owners with the resources needed in their own time and while they're on the go. Typically, when we begin a small business, we have little to no budget, and we make a lot of mistakes, especially when we're trying to assess risk. So today, we brought one of our guests is Laura Ramos James. She is an expert with liability insurance and working with commercial businesses such as yours. And we will ask her questions to help us better understand how to assess risk and how to protect our businesses from potential liabilities. Attorney Laura Ramos James is the owner of Ramos James Law, a legal firm with over 20 years of combined experience in successfully handling hundreds of personal injuries and accident cases representing individuals, workers, and families who suffer from accidents, workplace injuries, product liability, truck accidents, wrongful deaths, and personal injuries. She graduated with honors from St. Mary's University and joined the prestigious Baylor Law School program. Laura practiced as an insurance defense lawyer before becoming a plaintiff's lawyer, and she's truly knowledgeable of the legal strategies used by her opponents in court. She has won numerous awards during her practice, and she and her team have continuously worked to develop their network of professionals to help their clients. And I am pleased to welcome my friend Laura Ramos James. Hi, Laura.
Hi, Larissa. How are you?
I'm doing great, thank you, and I'm very happy that you are joining us today. I know that you have worked with us in other projects, so I'm very excited that you're also working with us in La Incubadora podcast. Thank you so much.
So honored to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Laura, tell us a little bit about your story and how you got into this career.
Yeah, so I am actually a dog bite survivor. I was bit by a dog when I was a toddler, and I, of course, experienced trauma and injuries and a lot of the stuff that goes along with that. And growing up, I think I always wanted to help people that were in a similar situation, but I didn't quite know that my path would end up taking me to a legal career, even though I did want to be a lawyer since I was little, just advocating for people that were were wronged and experienced injustice. And eventually, I went to law school and I found a way to be in the courtroom. And like you mentioned, I practiced insurance defense. So what I had to do was the opposite of what I currently do. I actually had to find a way to make injury victims kind of go away and take their lawsuits down and pay them to move on. And I realized that that's not where my heart was. My heart was always with the victims and trying to help them basically maximize what their damages are and present a good model for juries to assess what they went through and try to make them whole, because you can't turn back time, but there is a way to move on from a traumatic experience. And I think I have a unique insight into that because that happened to me. So that's kind of how I got into it.
And you know what? Not only providing closure, but also avoiding that it happens again,
That's right.
right?
And for
Yes,
other people, yeah.
yes. So I think it's a beautiful, beautiful passion to have, and I think it does help a lot of people because in other countries we don't have that. So if things just continue to happen and happen and happen, and here we have the, I guess it's the blessing that we can rely on our justice system to not only get closure, but also help that nobody goes through the same thing that one went through, right?
Absolutely, Larissa. You know that because you know me as a friend that I'm originally from Mexico, and one of the reasons why I wasn't able to stay there is because back when I lived there, there were no jury trials, and I'm a really strong believer in the right to a jury and going in front of your peers and telling them your story and having them, assess whether the other person's at fault, and none of that I could have accomplished back in Mexico. So I ended up coming here, and I saw that this is where I could actually do what my passion was, which was asking 6 or 12 people to look at what happened and come up with the version of justice that they could deliver.
That is amazing. Is that Laura, what you enjoy the most about your job? What is it that you enjoy the most about what you do?
Yeah, that is part of it. So I would say two things I enjoy the most. I love righting wrongs, and if somebody is responsible and refuses to take responsibility, I just automatically side with the person that was wrong, and it gives me great pleasure to bring justice to that person and make things right. And that I wake up excited to that every single day. But the other thing that I really love is even though I'm an introvert, I at the same time I'm a people person. I love people, so I really truly love getting to know my clients, love working with my team, and getting to know people from all walks of life. We have clients that are go from a very sophisticated company owner to a person that was never able to get any education, and all of those people have so much to bring to the table and contribute and teach me, and vice versa. So those are the two things that I love the most.
That is great. And yeah, sometimes you have that calling to help the community, and we have to stay on it. Otherwise, it's something that it's not complete in our hearts. And I see a lot of people that have go through the same, and it's amazing that you have found the path to um, to help the community while at the same time receiving your income and doing what you love what to do and all that. So it's like um, like an abundance circle, right? Where you get to do what you love and you get to make a living out of it.
Yeah, and that's so great that you mentioned that, because my husband and I, so my husband is not formally part of the law firm, but he's helped me incredibly since I started it, and we always talk about how the more we get for our injury victims, and the more that we're able to make their cases successful, it just goes back to now we're able to help more people. So it comes full circle for us.
Absolutely, yeah, I agree. Do you frequently work with small business owners or against small business owners?
I would say that a lot with small business owners, because small business owners are typically the individual. So we work a lot with individuals and against big insurance companies. So it's a lot of our clients have their landscaping business or their housekeepers, and we do work a lot with small business owners, but we do represent them as a person who was hurt. We don't represent the business.
Okay. Yeah. So we work with a lot of business owners, and one of the reasons why, and we had this conversation before I invited you to the podcast. But so being that we work with small business owners, I think this episode is especially important to our clients because learning to assess risk and learning to get their businesses protected can help them a lot. And a lot of small business owners will cut we'll try to make ends meet, and the way that they will do it is like by not by just focusing on their trade, but not focusing on those things that could be detrimental to their growth or their savings or their family's wealth, right? So I think it's very important that we have this conversation, and we give them some recommendations for them to assess risk and to be protected in the future. So I guess the main focus of this episode is ask you to give us three things or three tips for small business owners that they frequently fail to think about when they open their businesses, and how can they what can they do or what should they do to improve or mitigate risk.
Yes, that is a really good, I think, focus and helpful because, like you said, it is very easy to think like, $200, $300 that I save is going to help me a lot. But if you expose your whole business, then it's pointless for you to have not invested in protecting it. So the three things that small business owners frequently fail to do, and they should do to improve and mitigate risk, would be the first one, get commercial insurance. And we can talk a little bit more about it. I'll just, I guess, briefly list them. The other one would be to create an LLC or a limited liability company, and then to have a liability waiver in place for their company.
Okay. So create a limited liability company, have a waiver of liability, and have commercial insurance, right?
That's right.
Okay. hmm can you expand a little bit more on it?
Yes, of course. So for commercial insurance, it's going to really depend what type of business the person has. But I'll give you an example. If somebody has a landscape business, and they have, I don't know, they have an office, and a customer comes in, and they're looking at, say a catalog of what they would like to get done in their home or something, and something were to happen while that customer is in the office, and they get injured, and they incur thousands of dollars in medical bills, which is not uncommon. Unfortunately, we all kind of know the healthcare situation in the US is not ideal, and the cost of medical bills is, enormous. So having some sort of commercial liability that protects the business, to where when a person gets injured, the funds come from the insurance to pay for those losses or lost wages for the person instead of your own checkbook, it is incredibly helpful. Those are obviously insurance policies that a person or a business has to pay monthly. So there is a cost to that. And sometimes there's deductibles when a loss happens. But again, when you compare it to, paying a few $100s a year to having to pay, write a check for $100,000 to someone, I mean, that could be the difference between a business succeeding and keep going, and a business basically closing down. So that's one, the commercial insurance, and the other one, creating a limited liability company. Um, that is going to protect the individual, because if you have, for example, I'm a hairdresser, and I'm Laura Ramos, and then I do hair by Laura is the name of my business. And if something happens to where I happen to injure someone, if I don't have a limited liability company, somebody can come after me and my assets. And while there's going to be things that are protected, like the majority of people's homes are protected by a homestead exception, and certain other things are protected. It could be that, I have worked many, many years, saved my money, and I bought an Airbnb, and that's a side business I have, and I have trucks, and all those things are now going to be open and subject to being taken away, because I failed to create kind of like, I like to call it like a shield between the individual and the company, a separation. So if I had actually created the LLC for their business called Hair by Laura, then what would happen is whatever the company assets, the company's assets, um, whatever assets the company has, then are going to be the only thing that the person who is suing can go after. So if my company, Hair by Laura, has, for example, 10 scissors and a chair and a cape and a hair dryer. That's it. That's all the company. They can never come after my Airbnb. They can never come after my bank accounts. So I mean, it is just such a such a relief to have that shield and not that expensive when you put things in the balance. And then I guess the third thing we had talked about is having a liability waiver in place. And again, that's going to depend on the business. But have given some workshops before to small businesses, and the example that we like to use is suppose somebody has a business of trampolines, and they have a property and they have all these trampolines, and they welcome children and they do kids parties, and somebody gets injured again and you don't have a liability waiver. It's the same thing. You're exposing yourself, whereas you could have let the people sign a document where you're telling them, I am making you fully aware that this type of injury can take place, and you are coming here at your own risk. I'm not responsible for X, Y, and Z injuries that could happen in my premises, and things of that nature. Now, those things are never, there's always the potential for still having a lawsuit and still having somebody try to attack the waiver. But that is so much better than just having no liability waiver. It's basically like being naked. Like you have no protection at all. You're just inviting trouble.
Yes. Hmm. So that is very important, and I have seen it in one of my clients, actually a hairdresser. Um, she had someone who was walking inside the her space, and she was texting. She broke her knee. The ambulance came. They took her to the hospital. She had to have ended up having to have three surgeries, and of course, 3 months later, she received about a month later or something. She received the bill from the doctor that the hairdresser needed to pay for that for the medical bill. And she comes up to me and she says, "Well, I don't have liability. I don't have no waivers. I don't have commercial insurance, and they're coming to me. Why is she taking it against me if I had nothing to do with it?" She was looking at her phone, and I was telling her it's not a matter of her having something against you. It's a matter of she doesn't have money to pay for those bills and someone has to pay for those. So it's like a procedure that happens in all of the United States. If you sleep, you fall, then you will submit a claim against the liability insurance of the business, and they should have the commercial insurance to protect for that. But if you don't have it, then it's something that you fail to do. You fail to manage risk. And so it's not that she doesn't like, it's not that she has something against you. It's just that she has a lot of bills that she has to pay, and she needs to go through a process, right?
Exactly. And honestly, I'll tell you, like I've done this for well over a decade, and that's all I've done, helping injured victims. And two things I can tell you is, this person who got hurt, if they have a lawyer, the lawyer is usually going to review and vet the case, and most likely they have found a way where your hairdresser client, they can find a way to something she did wrong. For example, either sometimes it's like, hey, yeah, she was on her phone, but at the same time, like the surface was slippery, or they didn't have a protective mat or something like that. So there's going to be, if a lawyer takes the case, there's going to be some sort of argument that you as a business owner, you're going up against someone who does this for a living. And if you had you only had the forethought of getting this insurance, you wouldn't have to deal with it. The other thing is the medical bill is really sometimes the least of your problems, because we live in a country that most states have actually afforded, protected other rights of injured victims. Medical bills is one of them, lost wages, but then there are losses that people have that, can be hundreds of thousands of dollars, like physical impairment, disfigurement, if somebody ends up having scars and things like that. And there are many other things that can quickly add up.
Yeah, that's crazy. Why do you think that small business owners or business owners, not only the small ones, but why do you think they fail to pay attention to these things?
I think it's a very easy call to say, hey, it's like I've gotten a quote, it's $200 if I get commercial, $200 a month if I get commercial liability insurance, or however much. Like I rather just use this money for, get new laptops for my business, or get this, that, or the other, because no, the majority of people, we don't think it's going to happen to us. Like, it happens to other people, but we're like, what are the chances that it's going to happen here? And if you want to take that gamble, then you may lose your business.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, before we go into the next question, I want to say hi to the people that are with us, joining us. And we have Nereida Carrillo. She's saying, congratulations for your excellent job, the work that you're doing. And then we had Jody Lamb saying, good morning, Laura and Larissa. We have
That's good.
Mike, who's inviting us people to come in and join us to this conversation. And then we have Jody is sharing with us that she has similar, like a similar story with about the. She says your insights is similar to my own, Laura. My own auto accident put me on my own path to helping other injured parties in my profession as well. The power of past experiences has the ability to shape our future and help others with a positive impact. Absolutely. And then we also have, let me see, that we have other comments, and then um, let me see, give me a second. We have Penelope Garcia who's saying hi to everybody. We also have Jody who shared a thought. She says, the uncertainty of what happens now and after an accident occurs is something many experience. Without a proper insurance, a business owner may be financially liable and have to manage the claim directly. Having insurance will help protect the owner's interests, finances, and manage the claims process for the injured party. That is absolutely right.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and then Mike is sharing, I try not to think when it comes to law. I am smart enough to call a brilliant attorney like Laura Ramos James. Thank you, Mike. Yes, of
Thank you.
course. Of course, so they're joining us and sharing their thoughts. And yeah, as you say, we don't give the priority to risk management and mitigation protection, right? So it is something that we have to keep in mind, and we shouldn't look for the liability insurance once we have an accident in front of us. We
That's
should
right.
have it way before, because then it's not going to be as effective as it should.
That's right. I have yet to see a retroactive policy where, you buy it and like, hey, also protect me for this accident that happened a month ago. They're not
Exactly.
they're not gonna do that.
Exactly. So so which leads me into the next question. What are the consequences? I guess for business coaches like me and liable and accident attorneys like you, this is something that is very it's just something that we see every day. But what are the but for the people that are listening to us, what could be the consequences of not having liability insurance or commercial insurance, not having liability waivers, and not having LLCs?
Exactly. So the consequences can be, they can range from you having to pay out of your own pocket, open your checkbook and write a check to someone who's making a claim or basically trying to cover their losses, to just absolutely losing your business entirely, losing personal assets if you fail to create an LLC. So things that you have been, working towards and building and trying to create, can all get taken away because you did not, because you neglected to mitigate risk.
Yes, that is crazy. And let me ask you something. I heard that if you use your bank account from the limited liability company, I heard that if you use it to pay for personal expenses, sometimes the limited liability, I guess, restrictions to your own assets could be removed in a case against a plaintiff. Is that the case?
Yeah, and actually, I would probably, just kind of, I guess, as a reminder that really my area of practice is personal injury rather than business law. But I will say, so I would recommend that somebody who is finding themselves in a situation like that where they've set up an account and they want some guidance into managing it and all that, that they visit at length with the proper professional. But there are arguments that can be made many times when you are sort of commingling the business and the personal. And for example, one of the theories in law is called piercing the corporate veil. And what that means is, you have this shield that we were talking about, but if the shield um, is really kind of like a sham, like it's fake, and in reality everything is shared and commingled or mixed up. Many times the law can, or a judge or a jury can determine that there is in effect no shield, and so that
Yes.
the protection disappears.
Okay. Okay. So thank you for that. And yes, of course, for everything that we say here, it's very important. And then now that we're talking about disclaimers and all that, so it's important to mention that for every case and for every situation, it's very different, and it's always very important to seek um, personal and your own legal counsel. But let me go to the next question. How can a small business owner stay updated with risk management strategies for their businesses or vehicles?
How can small business stay updated? Okay, well, I would say there are a lot of resources that are free of cost, and some others have limited cost. Obviously, staying in touch with organizations like yours and similar organizations can always be sharing those types of strategies with them. There are now, in the, I guess, in the advent of the availability of information at our fingertips, where we can just research things like that. The Department of Insurance sometimes has, the Texas Department of Insurance has, puts out certain resources like that for people. And just talking, I would say, talking with people who are professionals in the area, instead of, I mean, it's always obviously rewarding to visit with friends and colleagues and things like that. But if you just rely on, like, oh, my friend did this, it's like, well, does your friend have risk management background? Or, like, I've had people who when we give the workshop about liability waivers, they're like, well, for my business, a friend of mine just let me use their paper, and that's what we give other people to sign. Like, I copied it, and so I do have a liability waiver. And I asked, does it talk about the specific things that can happen to when people are in connection with your business or associated with your business, or does it discuss the other business? Because in the law, many times, if liability waivers do not set out very specifically what can happen, and I'll give you an example. Like, if somebody has an Airbnb and they have a pool, and they put in a liability waiver, use at your own risk, we don't have a safeguard, risk of drowning, et cetera, et cetera. Well, that can happen with a pool, but you're not, if you have a liability waiver that discusses risk of drowning when your business is, serving alcohol, then the liability waivers might as well not have one. So definitely seeking out professionals and organizations that can give those resources. I mean, surely there's I'm positive there's like paid courses somewhere, but information is widely available nowadays.
Absolutely, absolutely. So what would you like people who listen to us today to take away with them? So what would be the one thing that you would like people to remember from this episode?
Probably broader than the specific three things that we discussed. I would say I would like small business owners to take away that always stay educated, always seek out knowledge, and don't bury your hand in the sand and say we're all busy. We all have homes and we all have businesses and things like that, and it's easy to kind of turn a blind eye or say I don't have time, I don't have money. But just seek out education. Education is the best way to save some money in the future for your business and protect it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That is a but that is a great recommendation. If you're an adult to open a business, if you're an adult to be out there interacting with other adults, then you have to be an adult to assess and mitigate risk.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, and thank you to. There's a whole conversation in LinkedIn with the people that are joining us. So I will invite everybody to join us in LinkedIn for the conversation. It's great, and I appreciate everybody for their insights. And thank you, Laura, so much. Where can we find you? Where can we reach out to you?
Yeah, so people can visit our website. It's ramosjames.com, and I think also our Facebook is a good place to get in touch with us. Obviously, people can always call 512-537-3369. And we're probably in all social media outlets if they don't find us. If people don't have Facebook, like we're in LinkedIn and Instagram and all that.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Laura, and thank you to all the people that joined us today. I will go to LinkedIn to read all the recommendations, and I appreciate everybody for joining us. And thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.